Imagine a happy reunion with friends. In a quiet cabin in the woods, we were laughing, sharing stories, and then a friend was killed. We all had secrets, and we suspected each other. And there was something scary in the dark. This really happened to us. Keep watching to find out what happened, and you won't regret it. But before we start, don't forget to subscribe, like and comment down about the story. I can't believe it had been 10 years since I last saw my friends. From high school, we were all so excited for this reunion. Even though we had grown apart over the years, we decided to meet at a cabin in the woods, away from the hustle and bustle of the city. The air was crisp, and the cabin was nestled in the midst of towering pine trees. We laughed and reminisced, sharing stories of our teenage adventures. As the night grew darker, the atmosphere changed. An eerie silence settled over us, and an unsettling feeling crept in. We heard a rustling sound outside, like twigs breaking underfoot. Mark, the prankster of our group, suggested it was probably a raccoon or a squirrel. We dismissed it and continued with our reunion. Around midnight, we gathered around the fireplace to tell ghost stories. The flickering flames cast eerie shadows on our faces as each of us shared their tale. It was all in good fun until Sarah, the quietest among us, began to speak. I've never told anyone this, but something happened to me a few years ago, she started, her voice trembling. I was walking alone in the woods one evening, and I saw a figure in the distance. It was dark, and I couldn't make out who it was, but when I called out, it didn't respond. I turned and ran as fast as I could, and I never went back into those woods alone. The room fell silent, and we exchanged nervous glances. We couldn't believe that Sarah had kept this a secret for so long. Her story sent shivers down our spines. As the night wore on, we decided to get some sleep. The cabin had enough rooms for all of us, and we hoped that a good night's rest would ease the tension. I chose a room at the end of the hall, with a view of the woods from the window. As I lay in bed, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me. I tried to dismiss it as mere paranoia, but I couldn't ignore the sensation. Just as I was about to close my eyes, I heard a creaking sound outside my door. My heart raced, and I held my breath. Slowly, I got out of bed and tiptoed to the door. I could see a faint shadow moving in the hallway. My friends were all supposed to be in their rooms. I reached for the doorknob, my palms sweaty, and opened the door just a crack to peek outside. To my horror, I saw a figure standing there, facing away from me. It was tall and slender, and its movements were eerily slow. I couldn't make out any details, but I knew this wasn't one of my friends. My heart pounded in my chest as I retreated into the room and locked the door. I wanted to scream for help, but I was afraid that it might alert the intruder. I reached for my phone and dialed 911, whispering my location to the operator. I hoped they would arrive in time to save us. I couldn't stay in the room forever, so I decided to make a run for it and wake up my friends. I unlocked the door as quietly as I could and slipped out into the hallway. The figure was gone. I hurried to each of my friends' rooms, waking them up one by one and telling them about the intruder. As we gathered in the living room, panic and fear consumed us. We realized that one of us might be responsible for this. Each of us had a secret, something we had hidden from the others. We began to suspect one another, accusing one another of being the intruder. Sarah's story took on a new significance. Could the figure she saw years ago be connected to this nightmare? The tension in the room was palpable, so we tried to figure out who we could trust. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed through the cabin. The lights flickered, and we were plunged into darkness. Screams filled the air as we fumbled to find our way in the pitch-black room. We heard footsteps, and the sound of heavy breathing drew nearer. In the chaos, I felt a hand grab my shoulder. I turned around, ready to defend myself, but it was Mark. He had found a flashlight. The beam of light revealed a horrifying sight. Our friend, Emily, lay on the floor, motionless, with a deep gash on her head. The police arrived shortly after, and an investigation began. It turned out that Emily had been murdered, and the intruder had fled. We were all suspects, and our secrets were laid bare for the authorities. The reunion that started with laughter and nostalgia had turned into a nightmare as the investigation continued. The truth about our hidden secrets began to unravel, and the horrors of that night haunted us for the rest of our lives. The cabin in the woods, once a place of reunion and fond memories, became a place of fear and darkness, forever tainted by the events that transpired on that fateful night. The mystery of Emily's murder remained unsolved. In the days following Emily's murder, tension within our group grew even stronger. The police questioned each of us thoroughly, and the suspicion seemed to gnaw at our friendships. We couldn't escape the feeling that one of our closest friends could be a murderer. As the investigation continued, more unsettling discoveries emerged. Sarah's story about the figure she had seen in the woods was not an isolated incident. Other residents in the nearby town had reported similar sightings, and some claimed to have heard strange, eerie whispers in the night. Months passed, and the case remained unsolved. The horror of that reunion night haunted us relentlessly, and our friendship was forever scarred. We could never return to the innocence and laughter of our high school days, and the cabin in the woods became a place to be avoided at all costs. We can learn from this story that being kind and caring for others can put you in the spotlight, but always remember that every good deed will benefit you later. Therefore, you must be careful about your relationship with others.